If you want to build Bumi Unleashed on a budget, well, this deck list will help. Hello everybody and welcome back into the fort where we make Magic more accessible for everyone. My name is Tyler Saves Ya Bucks and we're talking about Bumi Unleashed, a mythic earthbending legend from Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is going to be a full budget $99. Excluding Bumi's price, you can get this for about $50 on TCG Player. So let's take a look at what Bumi does and then get into the deck. Bumi Unleashed is 5 mana for a 5/4. Trample, when he enters Earthbend 4, whenever Bumi deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control, which is already pretty strong. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase. The main goal with this deck is to turn your lands into creatures. Of course, Earthbending will help with that, but also there's a bunch of cards in Magic's history that turns your creatures, well, it turns your lands into creatures, I should say. So this deck is filled with a lot of that, as well as some new cards. Shout out to Peak Raccoon for asking for a deck tech on this commander in my Avatar Aang video. You can always do that in the comments, and if I have the time, I will try and throw something together to help you engage with this game. So keep on doing that in the comments. But let's focus right now on the rest of this deck. First up, we have Sylvan Advocate, a 2-mana elf druid ally. Oh, also an ally. 2/3. As long as you control 6 or more lands, Sylvan Advocate and land creatures you control get +2/+2. Very good for earthbended lands because they're 0/0, so this will give them a little bit of a buff. Raga Draga, this is a great legend for this type of strategy. 4 mana, each creature you control with a mana ability gets +2/+2. Whenever a creature you control with a mana ability attacks, untap it. Whenever you cast a spell, if at least 7 mana was spent to cast it, untap target creature, it gets +7/+7 and gains trample until end of turn. What's cool about this is the fact that if you do animate a land, it is a creature with a mana ability. So Raga Draga will see all these creatures. It's usually good with mana dorks, you know, creatures that tap for mana, but that's what lands do anyway. So this is a great, almost finisher in the deck. Liege of the Tangle. This is such a classic one. 8 mana, 8/8 trample. Whenever Liege of the Tangle deals combat damage to a player, you may choose any number of target lands you control and put an awakening counter on each of them. Each of those lands is an 8/8 green elemental creature token. For as long as it has an awakening counter on it, they are still lands. There's a lot of ramp in this deck, so you could probably get up to Liege of the Tangle faster than people are ready for. Sylvan Awakening, just a sorcery for 3 mana. Until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creature tokens with reach, indestructible, and haste. They're still lands. Just an efficient way to turn all of your lands into creatures, and if Bumi hits someone, you get another combat. Black Blade Wow. Black Blade Reforged is a 2 mana legendary equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control, and you can equip a legendary creature for 3, 7 for someone else, but 3 on Bumi makes him super big so he can attack through, trample over, and get you that second combat. Xenagos, God of Revels, is 5 mana, has the whole devotion thing. If it's less than 7, it's not a creature, but at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and gets +X/+X, where X is the creature's power. This is great for Bumi. It's great if you get a massive land, and it's just really fun. I love the fact that it gives it haste. It's almost like a race car. It's like you just set it off and let it go, and whatever happens, happens. Sabo Tender. I love this card from Final Fantasy. 2 mana, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Just a nice 2-drop that deals damage as early as turn 2 in this deck. Awakener Druid is a 3 mana creature. When it enters, target forest you control becomes a 4/5 green tree folk creature. For as long as Awakener Druid remains on the battlefield, it's still a land. Just another way to animate a land and make it even bigger. Plus, if you have more ways to do earthbending, you can always put counters on that one, and now it's all of a sudden a 5/6 and a 6/7 and so on. Embodiment of Fury. This is 4 mana for a 4/3. Land creatures you control have trample. Already very strong if you're getting multiple combats with them. And then landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target land you control become a 3/3 elemental creature token with haste until end of turn. Just also very strong in the deck. Haru, hidden talent. Whenever another ally you control enters, you earthbend one as well. And there's a lot of allies in this deck. Even from sets that aren't Avatar, there's allies. Like the very first one we talked about today was an ally. So this is just a way to help turn more and more of your lands into creatures or build up bigger and bigger lands. Embodiment of Insight. Land creatures you control have vigilance. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target land become a 3/3 elemental creature token with haste. So with this and the red one, you're giving all of your land creatures vigilance and trample. Very nice. Mirag, Fury of Akum. This is one that's a bit of a head scratcher when you actually have to play it out. It is a 6-mana legend. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it has attacked this turn. Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. There's a lot that goes into making this one make sense, but it will give you more combats if Bumi is not on the battlefield, but also if Bumi is on the battlefield, when you attack, all of your lands are getting +1/+0 for each time they've attacked. So even if it's just an additional time, that's +2. And then if you play a land in your second main phase, you get +3. I think the rules interaction, it's been a while since this was first printed in Zendikar Rising, was the fact that you don't get an additional main phase after that combat. If you play this on your second main phase, it just goes straight to your end step because it doesn't say that there's an additional main phase after that. I think that was the confusion. Either way, this is going to be strong in the deck. Become the Avalanche is 6 mana. Draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. Then creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. Hopefully you have a lot of land creatures, and hopefully this will draw you some cards, but make your board massive, especially Bumi, so you get that second combat. Escape to the Wilds is a 5-mana sorcery. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may play cards exiled this way until the end of your next turn. You may play an additional land this turn. It just helps get you more lands out and also lets you see a lot of cards from your library. Harmonize. This is a budget list. 4 mana to draw 3 cards is not the worst thing ever, especially when it's not beholden to the fact of like how big your creatures are or whatever. Those are very powerful, but sometimes you just need to be able to draw cards, and this is what will help with that. Size makes sense. This is a new one. I've talked about this card, and a lot of these cards we'll be talking about today from Avatar. I did a bulk video, the best commons and uncommons, and you can check that out right now. This is just 1 mana. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of lands you control. You may reveal a creature or land from among them and put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Hunter's Insight. This card's just so cool. 3 mana instant. Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. Very, very helpful in this deck, especially with Bumi out. If you get the Black Blade on Bumi and attack, you can draw a whole lot of cards here. Tanuk, Memorial Ensign. I've put this in so many decks recently. 3 mana, has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, he deals 1 damage to each opponent. And if this was the second time this has resolved this turn, draw a card. Just deals some damage like the Sabu Tender, but also can draw you a card in the process. Augur of Autumn, 1 green. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. I always love that. Even if you know what's on there, I just like looking at it. It's like, it feels so wrong, but this tells you it's so right. You may play lands from the top of your library. That's very helpful in this deck. And then Coven, as long as you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Just beneficial as well. But yes, giving you access to more lands and the top of your library is strong. Nahiri's Lithoforming is X red. For a sorcery, sacrifice X lands. For each land you sacrifice this way, draw a card. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield tapped this turn. Here's the cool trick with this. When you Earthbend a land, you turn it into that creature, you put the counters on it, but if it dies or is put into exile, return it to the battlefield tapped. What's great about that is you can sacrifice, say, 4 lands here, draw 4 cards, you can play 4 additional lands, but if those 4 lands were the Earthbended creatures, they're just going to come back to the battlefield and you've ramped yourself, hopefully 4 more lands. This is just so cool. Earthbending is so cool when you start thinking of all the corner case stuff you can do. Garruk's Uprising. Yes. So I'll read this and then I'll explain the kind of caveat here. 3 mana. When it enters, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, and whenever a creature you control with power 4 or greater enters, draw a card. It's that last ability, whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters. We're animating a lot of lands. They're already on the battlefield, so you won't draw the most cards. Like most Gruul decks have all these big powered creatures. So it won't be too much like that, but every once in a while you'll cast a Liege of the Tangle or something like that and draw a card, plus it draws when it enters, but giving everything trample and just having that on a pretty safe enchantment, that's why it's in this list. Shamanic Revelation is 5 mana, draw a card for each creature you control. You gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. Bumi Earthbends 4, Bumi's power is 5. There are going to be a lot of big creatures in this deck, so you're going to gain at least a handful of life out of this. But if you do have just a bunch of land creatures sitting around and drawing a card for each of them, that is going to be such a big game changer for you. Inspiring Call, this is 3 mana, instant, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. I've talked about this before, the fact that this is good defensively, of course. If someone casts a board wipe or removal, you can save your stuff, but it's also good offensively. If you're about to do a big turn where you know you're going to attack at least twice with your lands and all of them have +1 counters on them, something you can do is cast Inspiring Call as you move to combat, and now they all have indestructible. It changes the math on what people can do for blockers and everything in between. Just know that you can do not defensive stuff with Inspiring Call. Colossal Majesty is 3 mana for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Like I said, Bumi has that. A lot of your lands and big creatures will have that, so it just adds some more good card draw to the deck. Return of the Wild Speaker is a 5 mana instant. Choose 1, draw cards equal to the greatest number or greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. When you Earthbend those lands, they are not humans. They are, I don't even know if they have a creature type. So you can draw a bunch of cards for your animated lands, but also you can just buff them up by 3 at instant speed. Again, it is a good thing to do as you move to combat. Tireless Tracker is 3 mana, has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, investigate. That's making a clue. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1 counter on this creature. We have a little bit of +1/+1 counter synergies going on in this deck, but this just gives you more cardboard for doing what your deck already does, more clues that you can crack and draw cards if you really need it. Rishkar's Expertise, 6 mana. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. But also you may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. I don't know. I'm so happy this card is under $2. I love putting it in budget decks because it can help refill your hand and then make for a huge splashy play off of that casting for free. I love it. Toski, Bearer of Secrets is 4 mana, can't be countered, is indestructible, attacks each combat if able. It is very fierce and only a 1/1, but it also says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Bumi, that's one of the big things. You want Bumi to get through, so that'll at least draw you a card with that trample. And then you get some of the other stuff that helps your lands get through and everything, and then you can draw a whole bunch of cards. Toski's just great. Evolution Sage, there's not too much that plays in this realm, but I wanted to throw at least one thing in there. 3 mana, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, proliferate. That means for any counter on the board, you can add an additional counter. If you have a bunch of Earthbended lands, you can build them up more and more whenever you play more lands. Biosynthetic Burst. I think that's what it's called. 2 mana, instant, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. It gains reach, trample, and indestructible until end of turn. Untap it. It's just a nice way to protect something, but also give some trample, get more counters on the board. It's great to use as a combat trick to untap it, has reach, it can eat a flyer. I don't know, I like it a lot, and it's a good bulk card. Snakeskin Veil, also a great bulk card. 1 mana, instant, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. It gains hexproof until end of turn. A way to protect Bumi. You need to protect Bumi, okay? He's old. Origin of Metal Bending is 2 mana for an instant lesson. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, or put a +1 counter on target creature you control. It gains indestructible until end of turn. In that bulk video that I was talking about earlier, I put this at probably the top of my favorite bulk cards from Avatar. It just is on rate for the removal and also adds protection to the mix. I love this card. Emergent Sequence, I believe we're on to some of the land ramp in the deck. 2 mana, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. That land becomes a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token that's still a land. Put a +1 counter on it for each land you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. It animates a land and also fetches it out of your library. Llanowar Loam Speaker, 2 mana, you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, but also you can tap it to have target land you control become a 3/3 elemental with haste. It's still a land, activate only as a sorcery. Great way to animate more lands and help them attack through. Cycle of Renewal, another new card. 3 mana, sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. This, and there's a few other ones that do a similar thing. This also works really well with Earthbending. You sacrifice an Earthbended land and it comes right back, so you're not down a land at all. Harrow, again, this is the best of them because of the fact that when those lands, the basic lands, enter the battlefield with this one, they don't enter tapped. Super strong for Harrow. Springbloom Druid, it enters the battlefield and basically does that same thing. You sacrifice a land, search your library for 2 basics, put them on the battlefield tapped. Roiling Regrowth, the same thing. Sacrifice a land, search a library for 2 basics, onto the battlefield tapped. Sakura Tribe Elder, just a great ramp spell. 2 mana. Sacrifice this creature, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Explore, especially with this art, is incredible. 2 mana, draw a card, and you can play an additional land this turn. It's great in the early game, of course, and it's actually pretty good in the late game. That land you play comes into the battlefield untapped, so you can use it right away. Also, it can help try and draw you an answer if that's what you're looking for. Jaheira's Respite, this is kind of like a fog. 5 mana, instant, search your library for X basic land cards, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Put those cards onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. It's just good, especially you attack with a bunch of your lands. You go all out, you take 2 players out, and then somebody is going to try and take you out. The next turn, you have some mana, you have 5 mana untapped. Again, you're going to ramp so much in this deck. And you're able to cast this, nullify that, get more lands onto the field, and hopefully win from there. Cultivate, awesome. Search your library for 2 basics, 1 into your hand, 1 onto the battlefield. Farseek is awesome in this deck as well. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. There are a few dual lands in this deck that have both land types, so you can go fetch up one of those and put it onto the battlefield. Goblin Anarchiomancer is a red and a green. Each spell you cast that's red or green costs 1 less to cast. Very nice and very simple. Obviously, pretty much every single card in this. I don't even know if we have colorless cards in this deck. Anyway, yeah, so it's going to limit all the cards in the deck. That sounds good to me, right? Mina and Den Wildborn is 4 mana. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and then you can pay 2 mana, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Target creature gains trample until end of turn. What's a cool thing about this is the fact that you can play a land, and that's your 1 land for the turn, pay that 2, bounce a land to your hand, and then play your additional land, but still gives something that trample until end of turn. It's just nice. That second ability looks like you're going to go down a land, but actually this helps you kind of have parity with your land drops if you're going to activate that often. Tireless Provisioner is 3 mana, landfall. Whenever a land enters, create a food or a treasure. People almost always make treasures, but who knows? This is an aggro deck. You might want to get a couple foods laying around just in case you want to protect your life total. Entish Restoration, one of the more expensive cards in the deck. It is a lot like Harrow and Cycle of Renewal, where you sacrifice a land, search your library for 2 basics, put onto the battlefield tap. But if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, instead search your library for 3 basic lands, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Very, very nice. Oracle of Moldiah is 4 mana. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. You may play with the top card, or you just play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play lands from the top of your library. It's a staple for a reason, and right now it is lower in the budget range. So if you've always wanted to get one, this is the time to pick one up. True Ancestry, some recursion is always nice. 2 mana to return a target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, and you make a clue. That clue you can use to crack later and draw a card, but also it just helps you get something back that you really need. Maybe it is just a land that you sacrificed. Eternal Witness is 3 mana, enters, you find any card in your graveyard and put it into your hand, so you can get a Return to the Wild Speaker back. Rhino's Rampage is a hybrid Gruul for a sorcery. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It fights target creature an opponent controls. When excess damage is dealt to that creature an opponent controls this way, destroy up to 1 target non-creature artifact with mana value 3 or less. This is one of the best cards, I would say, in all of the Spider-Man set. We didn't get the most in the uncommon or common slot, but this one overperforms in the fact that you can kill one thing and then you don't even have to target the non-creature artifact on that player's board. You can just kill somebody's commander and then snipe somebody's Soul Ring and just kind of 2 for 1 in a way. I love this card. It's great. Abrade, also great. 2 mana, deal 3 to a creature or destroy target artifact. Kamal's Will is 4 mana for an instant. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast this, you may choose both. Until end of turn, any number of target lands you control become 1/1 elemental creature tokens with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. They're still lands. Or, but also and if you have Bumi out, choose target creature you don't control. Each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to that creature. It's removal and a way to animate your entire land base, which is just so strong in this deck. Stump Stomp. I love Stump Stomp. It is a fight spell. Target creature, it's a bite spell actually. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. But on the other side, it's a dual land. It enters tapped, sure, but it taps for one or the other. You're going to want a lot of lands and to consistently be playing your lands. I think I have like 42 or so lands in here, and Stump Stomp is one that I love so much. Chaos Warp, because it's Chaos Warp. 3 mana, you get rid of a permanent, they shuffle their library. If it's a permanent card on top, they can put it on the battlefield. If not, nothing happens. Love Chaos Warp. Kazul's Fury, and also it flips over into Kazul's Cliffs, which is a red land that comes into play tapped. But as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature. It deals damage equal to the sacrificed creature's power to any target. It's a fling spell. And if you fling a earthbended land, all of a sudden it's going to just come right back to the battlefield. Love it. Love it so much. Beast Within, destroy a permanent. Its controller makes a 3/3 beast creature token. Also can just deal with anything on the board or destroy one of your own earthbended lands. You get the token, you get the land back. Nature's Claim, 1 mana, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. It's just very efficient. I love Nature's Claim in pretty much a lot of my green decks. I think I have several copies and they always find a home. Bridgeworks Battle, this is another fight spell. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. And then it flips over into Tanglespan Bridgeworks. You can pay 3 life to have this enter the battlefield untapped, which is really good. And again, it helps up your land count. Collective Resistance. This card is so great. It's one of the best uncommons from Modern Horizons 3. 2 mana escalate, so you may pay this cost for each mode chosen beyond the first, but you can just, for 2 mana, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or target creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. But you can also pay a green, and I think it would be all 4 mana to be able to do destroy an artifact, enchantment, and give that protection. It's just such a flexible card. Blasphemous Act. It's awesome. I mean, it's every deck needs a way to sweep the board, and when this can destroy some of your lands and they just come right back, it's very cool. Promising Vein, we're on to the lands. I'm just going to go over through some of them. I made an entire video about the best budget lands in Commander. They have a lot of these utility lands, like these ones. They enter the battlefield and you surveil 1, which is very good if you happen to sack it and it comes right back. But also a bunch of the dual lands. So if you're ever building a deck, by the way, 2 mountains in the deck. If you're ever building a deck and you're like, man, I can never remember the red-green filter land. I made a video. It has all of these really good budget lands in there. This one is not in there. It's a slow fetch land because it enters the battlefield tapped, and not a lot of people play that. But in this deck, I think the ability to put counters on this and attack and block with it and everything, and then you can just sacrifice it to go get a mountain or forest and put onto the battlefield, and then this comes right back. I think the ability to do that is worth it in this deck. Game Trail. Yeah, so a lot of these, I was surprised how budget friendly they are. And, 13 forests, by the way. And, yeah, so that video that I put out is just very helpful for that type of thing. It's helpful for me whenever I'm building these decks. I can just go to that video and go to the Architect link I made for it and just see what I should throw in there. I need to talk about Keswick Wolf Run because of the fact that you can buff up a creature, giving it that trample. This might be a way to really build up a big land that's going to attack twice, and then you give it a big power buff and trample on top of everything else. It's so good. Rumble Arena is a new card, enters Scry 1, so just great in general, but it just has Vigilance. So if you attack with this, it won't tap. It's so good. And then a few of them, I'm sure you saw, have ways to animate themselves as well. Command Tower, sure. Of course, Command Tower. And then Lair of the Hydra, another way to animate itself. Amashu City. Now, I don't tend to always put just thematic lands in these decks, because when you're building budget, the more focused and the more everything is in one direction you can go in will make the deck be able to hang with other decks at the table. But listen, Bumi is from Amashu City, and it just feels right to put in the deck. Okay, it's in the deck. Restless Ridgeline. Treetop Village turns into an ape. Copper Line Gorge, which I'm very happy is in the budget range right now as well. Rootbound Crag. Carplution Forest, a pain land. I love the pain lands. And then the last card for today is Rogue's Passage. 4 mana to let a creature be unblocked this turn could just close out a game here, especially if the boards are very full and you need Bumi to be able to get through. Spending that 4 mana in a ramp deck might just be nothing to you in order for you to have those 2 combats. And there you go. That is Bumi Unleashed. I hope this video helped you, like I said at the start of this video, engage with the game. If you love Bumi, you love this effect, this can help you get off the ground. You don't have to play every single card I talked about today. The link to the deck list is in the description, but if you are already trying to get started on a deck, I'm hoping that this will help you. Or if you just want to buy it outright and let me know if it destroys some people, because I really think it will. Like I've said before, I'm a huge Avatar fan, so we're going to be having more and more Avatar content. I put out a lot of Avatar content recently, so please check out the rest of the channel, and I hope to see everybody here next time in the fort. Goodbye.